Hello faithful viewers and welcome back to another Transformers review. This time we're looking at the Transformers Armada, let's call it Voyager class Thundercracker, aka Paralink Starscream, because this is the colour combination that Starscream took on toward the end of the series, and he explicitly said that he looked like Thundercracker, so Hasbro in their divine wisdom decided, let's just call him Thundercracker for the sake of the toy. So, as with Starscream and the Skywarp redeco and the Ramjet redeco, were there any others? I'm not sure, there probably was. He turns into a JIT, a big old jet. I don't know why I said that initially as a New Zealander or an Australian. He turns into a jet. And yeah, it's faithful to how it looks in the cartoon/anime. And it's a big old boy. Like I say, he is essentially Voyager class. In today's size class, he would be Voyager. What quite he was back in the day, I'm not entirely sure. Megacon or something? The old naming conventions of the past confuse me. I just go with Deluxe, Voyager, Leader, etc. So yes, big old blue jet, blue being the primary colour as you would expect, with some red highlights along the wings and the edges here. Nice bright yellow cockpit. You've got some black accents as well alongside there, and underneath there is some nice silver paint popping some extra detail. Coming to the underside, you can see some moulded in like missile launchers. They don't fire anything. The firing gimmick is, of course, these thrusters here, which we'll get to in a little bit. And then in terms of robot kibble, I mean, what you can see, the arms are disgustingly visible. I don't quite know what these are meant to be in terms of the jet fuselage anatomy. And of course, the legs are these bits here, and of course the head, or at least the top of the head, is right there. It doesn't quite have visible head syndrome, but to an extent it does. So I don't know, engineering at the time, they were kind of limited as to what they could do. They could have hidden things better, I think, but overall, you know, it's an iconic enough jet as it is. It's fine. And of course you've got nice bright purple Decepticon logos on either wing and on the arms right there. So, gimmickry. Armada was renowned for its gimmickry. Now for a start, you'll see his Minicon partner Zap Master, aka Swindle, is plugged on to the bottom right there. And this, I believe, if you push down on the cockpit, well, yeah, it's sort of doing it. The gimmick is a little bit stuck. If you push down on the cockpit, it's meant to have sound effects, but the batteries have died in my copy. I thought it also released said Minicon. There we go. Yeah, it's a little ejector function. Not too dissimilar, I suppose, to Demolisher and what he could do with Blackout. So let's have a quick look at Swindle/Zap Master. Turns into a little grey and blue F1 car, approximately. Yeah, nice. Not a lot of detail to it, but there wouldn't be for a Minicon. Oh, and I dropped him. And yeah, he rolls decently enough. Not a lot of resistance there, so that's good. And then a easy peasy transformation. Flip them, push that down, fold them up and split the legs, and you are done. And there is a faithful looking robot mode to how he is in the cartoon. But of course the toys came first. They based everything else off this. So yeah, not a lot in terms of articulation. Head can't do anything. Arms are limited really to just that, and legs to doing a beautiful spread. That's kind of it. And apart from Blackout, he does, I guess, have the award for easiest transformation ever made. There you go. Now, in terms of other gimmicks, you, of course, got the most infamous one here. If you plug him in the back, there we go. There we go. My figure's old. And then you can bring the null laser cannons, as Starscream used to say, out to the front there, and these do shoot. So here we go in 3, 2, 1, and in 3, 2, 1. Well, that one was a bit more powerful than the other. Coming on down to transformation then. Of course, it's an Armada figure. It's going to be very easy indeed. So, let's begin on the underside here, and let's tilt our camera up to accommodate this. Let's just disconnect the legs from a little tab right there. Bring them all the way out like that on very nice clicky ratchet joints. Let's put our nails in there and dig out the heels. And then let's just get the legs positioned like that. And that should provide us sufficient clearance to get around. Well, in fact, I don't know why I'm talking about clearance now, because that's irrelevant for transforming him into robot mode. Let's plug in the waist. And you get the head reveal, which wasn't in focus at all, but hey ho. Plug him down. Then, come to the arms. Let's bring them down like so. And like so. Flip the nose cone in, take the wings, fold that one that way, and then fold that one that way like that. He is essentially done. We're just going to try and pry his hands out. Now, his hands are notoriously hard to get out because the screws are ridiculously tight. For our little knobs right there, we've got that one out. Let's see if we can get this one out. Oh, we've done it. I thought I was going to struggle with that, but no. And there we go. There is Thundercracker / Paralink Starscream fully transformed into his iconic looking robot mode. He looks wunderbar, doesn't he? He looks absolutely gorgeous. Now, let's take a look at that noggin in greater detail. And yes, spitting full of nice grooves along the side, very G1-esque. I don't quite know really though what they were going for in terms of the pink face. I just do find that a really odd choice. And also, I don't know if you can see there, it's as if he's got a scar. He certainly didn't have that in the show. And I don't know if the original Starscream figure has that either. Perhaps Anthony will be able to enlighten me on that, because he's got the original Starscream version of this rather than the Thundercracker version. So he might be able to help tell me if his copy has that and if it was a common mould thing. It's just an interesting little bit of detail. And then, of course, you've got the Decepticon logos on the wings. Still, relatively the same amount of detail is present on the robot mode because the transformation isn't very involved and therefore not a lot of new stuff is brought to the forefront. Yellow cockpit, of course. A bit more, I suppose, light grey is revealed just due to these parts not previously being at the forefront. And then, yep, big old stocky visage about him. He is what you would expect from this version of the character. He has Minicon ports on his forearms, so if you get Zapmaster / Swindle lined up, you can plug him in, and then I suppose you can pretend he's got like an arm blade sort of thing going on. Naturally, the cannon gimmick is still usable in robot mode, so just push them in. And there you go. Now you've got him ready to fire the null laser cannons. And then the other big thing that this figure is known for is the sword blade gimmick. So let's rip off this wing entirely. Oh, there we go. I will also say that these are kind of only held in, not by mushroom pegs per se, but these really kind of flimsy things here. You can see that. They have a habit of falling off all the time. Slightest twist the wrong way will send them spooling off. So when you're doing the sword gimmick, you want to be detaching it there at that point, but just be wary, you might rip this bit off as well. And then unclip and just unfurl it like that. And then let's grab his hand, let's plug it in. There we go. And now he's ready to fight Galvatron. I will say though, as cool as a gimmick as it is such a pity that they couldn't find a way to actually lock the sword in its fully extended mode, because it's just floppy. There are no tabs, which it really would have benefited from, just to keep this straight, because if you try and fight, you're just going to biff it about and it's going to become just a skewed up mess. That's such a shame. But hey, it looks cool. The other thing I will note, he can't have his hand fully straight when you've got his sword in. He does have to have it at a downward angle like that. So, a bit bizarre, but, you know, engineering of the time. What more can you do? In terms of articulation then, not a lot, basically. The head can't do anything apart from go up and down like that on its spring. In terms of the arms at the shoulders, you've got a little bit of inward and outward rotation. They can actually go all the way around like that before the torso blocks them. Then you've got the hinges just there, which can allow the arms to go back about that far if you move the wing to accommodate. And then only about that far that way. And then you've got this hinge right here, which is bizarre in its own right. So you've got all of that going on. And that's kind of it. For the hands, you've got up and down there for transformation, but that's it. In terms of the waist, you've not got any swivel of any kind. You could do that, I suppose, but that is for leg articulation, so let's properly show that off with a forward kick of only about that far, and a magnificent back kick, just again due to the natural engineering of him. In terms of a spread, absolutely nothing because his legs can't go out like that. In terms of the knee, you've got an over 90-degree bend there, really for transformation, obviously. In terms of the thigh, it's not really a thigh, it's more of a knee swivel, this. He does have 360 degrees of rotation right there. And then nothing at the feet. His heels can go up and down. Again, transformation. Overall articulation. It's pretty Okay, here we go for comparison then. So you've got your OG Starscream / Thundercracker on the left with the new Legacy version on the right. And the Legacy one really does say, anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you. It can, because it's a modern update, obviously. Size, it's a lot smaller, but in terms of articulation, everything that this one can do far outshines that one. This one is heavily featured for its gimmickry. It's very much focused on that. This one, obviously, its focus is more on modern engineering, while still retaining the same profile and aesthetic as its forebearer. But yeah, it's not really a contest as to which is better. Again, I might explore this more in depth in the future, old versus new, but just for the sake of it, let's have a look. Still on the topic of Transformers Legacy, you've got the new Hotshot next to Thundercracker here, so you can see how they look together. Okay, so here is Starscream / Thundercracker right up against the person that he tried to gain favour from, but nothing was ever good enough. Galvatron. And yeah, that's an interesting comparison. They are relatively the right size for one another. They actually do look really nice together. So yeah, I do wonder, just while I've got him here though, can I put the Starsaber in Galvatron's hand? Let's just have a quick sidebar. Oh, you can not really. That's too wobbly, and that looks ridiculous anyway. I just had that thought, considering that when they fought, Galvi had the Starsaber, while Screamer was using his wing blade. He is not standing straight. Anyway, that's how the Decepticon Commander and his first lieutenant look together. And then naturally, here's our final comparison with Mysterio. To transform Thundercracker back into vehicle mode, let's start with the arms and just put the fists in like this. And then let's fold the wings back, get them into position, lift the nose cone up, and detach him at the waist. Bringing it down like this, closing the heels into the feet, rotating the legs so they are facing that way, and bending at the knee, pushing this all the way back until it clicks into place, folding the legs in from behind, just like that, double hinging the arms until they snap in. Same thing on that side. Push the head in, make sure everything is folded up and secure. And there you go, one Thundercracker fully transformed into his jet mode. And so there we go, that's been our look at Transformers Armada Thundercracker. He's a big old brick, isn't he? there really isn't a lot to this figure, and I remember back in the day seeing an ad for the Starscream variant in the Panini Transformers Armada magazine that you could get, and I thought he was the best thing ever. I loved the shade of crimson on that figure, which is something that I will say, the old one compared to the new one, in terms of specifically the Starscream deco and the shade of red, I much prefer the old one's deep red as opposed to the new one's brighter choice there. But anyway, this is about Thundercracker. And yeah, he's just a big old brick. Again, the focus is on gimmickry, lights and sounds, well, not lights, but sounds, and just play, I suppose, rather than articulation or any of the concerns that modern figures would have. Do I recommend him? Maybe if you're a kid and you play with your figures. If you're an adult collector, or maybe if you've got nostalgia for Armada. But otherwise, I would actually say get the new version rather than the old. It's just more fun, I think. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is fun. This is nice to transform. It's easy. He looks good, but he's a brick. And there's no escaping that. The engineering on him is heavily outdated. And I think of all the versions of this figure that exist, this actually might be my least favourite in terms of paint. I think I rate the OG Starscream colorization deco above this, and probably the Skywarp version is better as well, to be honest. Maybe not the Ramjet one. This might be slightly nicer than the Ramjet version. But of all of the iterations of this mould, I would say seek out the original Starscream version. I just think it looks nicer. So based on that, make of it what you will. If you care about this version of the character, which rightly so, because it's the best Starscream, arguably, that's ever been created in terms of character, then definitely get it. But I would still say prioritise the new Legacy version over the old. But that's just me. So thank you everybody so much for stopping by, checking out this review. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and share it around to help out the channel. And until the next time, see you all later.